Cincinnati.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Did you fly in for this occasion?
I did.
Thank you. As part of your employment with GE, were you asked to do anything in connection with the investigation into the murder of Russell Sneiderman?
Yes, we were asked to gather emails, laptops, any electronic data that may have been accessed or used by both parties, Mr. Newman and Ms. Sneiderman.
Okay, well, let me stop you there. You referenced emails. Does GE have an employee email communication or network for an internal use?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and tell me about that.
Every employee and contractor has their own email address. It's typically first name dot last name at ge.com. We utilize the Microsoft Outlook system, and it's our email system.
Well, let me ask you a general question then. If someone comes to you during, in your capacity as a forensic investigator for GE and asks about recovering emails, what is it that you can do or that you attempt to do in order to comply with that request?
Sure, we can conduct what's called an ex-merger harvesting of any emails that are still currently sitting on the server. So if it's out on the server, we can pull it down. If it's been deleted, we have a short period of time that we can pull those deleted files off. It's typically about 7 days. So that's what we do. We just conduct the ex-merge and pull any active emails off.
Okay. Were you asked to gather emails in connection with this investigation?
Yes, we were.
And whose emails were you asked to secure?
Mr. Newman and Ms. Sneiderman.
Can you tell me, do you know what Andrea Sneiderman's GE email address was in 2010 during the time of her employment with GE?
I believe it was Andrea.Sneiderman@ge.com.
And GE.com, is that consistently the end, or how would you describe the?
It's our GE domain. It's our email domain.
So typically, GE employees would have an email address with a GE.com on the end. Correct. Okay. What about Hemi Newman? Did Hemi Newman have an address assigned to him as part of his employment for GE?
Yes, it did.
And what was his address?
I believe it was Hemi.Newman@ge.com.
All right. And were you able to comply with the request to gather information, emails in particular, from both Ms. Sneiderman and Mr. Newman's email addresses from the internal GE server?
Yes, we were able to harvest the active emails on the server.
Okay. Were there an awful lot of emails?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't look at them.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Your Honor, I'm identifying and showing what has been previously stipulated to with a caveat by the defense. The 3A and 3B are the GE emails from Andrea Sneiderman and Hemi Newman that were recovered. It is previously stipulated to
And
you.
this is 3A and 3B?
It is, Your Honor.
Who's witnessing it?
That's mine, Your Honor, and that is correct. We just would ask the court to allow us to review briefly the folders themselves later. We have been given the materials earlier, and just on the outside chance that the page might have gotten lost in the copy or something, we just would like to have the opportunity to go over with the state. I have no reason to think there's anything deficient in them, but we would just like that opportunity, obviously not taking up the jury or the court's time to do that. But with that caveat, we do stipulate to it.
All right, we'll give you that opportunity. Are those pages numbered?
They are, Your Honor. 3A is date stamp page 3806 through 4601. And 3B is date stamp page 4602 through 5281.
Thank you.
The date stamp pages refers to the number provided to the defense in pretrial discovery.
All right. You may continue. You may caution to the jury if you wish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Goff, tell me, was there anything besides the emails that we just talked about that you gathered as far as documents in response to a request through the investigation into the murder of Russell Sneiderman?
We gathered travel living expense statements. We gathered obviously the laptops and electronic media that is associated with both parties. And we also gathered access records into the buildings, phone records. So.
All right. I want to focus a little bit about the travel documents that you referenced. What kind of travel documents are you able to obtain if sometime after a point of travel, someone asks you to provide documentation?
We can gather the actual expense reports that were submitted by the traveler and any receipts that were submitted as part of those travel expenses.
Does GE keep records of travel expenses for all its employees?
Yes,
Okay, are those records kept during the normal and ordinary course of business?
yes, they are.
Are the records generated at or around the time of the event, meaning the time of travel or the time the employee asked for reimbursement?
That's the expectation of the company, is that you fill out a travel expense report as close to your travel dates as you can. Typically within 30 days.
All right. Who is responsible for making sure that the contents of the claims are accurate?
The employee,
And once the report is turned in, is access to those reports restricted?
yes.
How is it restricted?
Once you've submitted a report, they're considered read-only. You can pull them back up to look at them, but you cannot alter them in any way.
Okay, so your trip to Atlanta, for example, if you sought reimbursement from General Electric for your trip, after you submit your claims for your hotel and some other things, would you be able to change that record?
No.
Was the defendant, Andrea Sneiderman, was she issued a GE American Express card for business use?
Yes, you was.
Do you recall the last 3 digits of that card?
I believe it was 003.
Okay. And what about Henry Newman? Was he also issued a GE American Express card for business use?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And what was the last digits of that card?
I believe that was 004.
Okay. All right, Ms. Fox, you turned over multiple emails for us. Can you say that these emails, the 2,000 or so pages that there are, constitute all of the emails that were sent or received from Henry Newman and Andrea Sneiderman during the period that was requested from Andrea Snyder's employment in April 2010 through the end of the end of January 2011?
Not necessarily.
Why?
It only shows what we consider active emails. They're sitting on the server. So if something was deleted or if something was moved to a local folder on their hard drive, it would not be on the server any longer. Therefore, we could not produce it.
Did you in fact produce everything that you were able to recover?
Yes.
Okay, but you're just not able to represent that it is the entirety, every email that was sent between or among the two of them? All right. I am going to show you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibits number 5 and 6. And on the record reflect, I'm showing Mr. Petrie the same thing. It's also State's Exhibit number 6 is base stamp 687, and State's Exhibit number 5 is a multi-page document and it begins with the base stamp 436.
Record may so reflect.
You want to back up to it?
You may.
Ms. Bach, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibits number 5 and State's Exhibit number 6. Do you recognize what State's Exhibit number 5 is?
Yes, I do.
What's State's Exhibit number 5?
This is a comprehensive overview of expenses that were submitted, I believe, by Mr. Newman.
How is it that you recognize State's Exhibit number 5?
I had requested this from our corporate office to be sent to us as part of the discovery notice.
Okay. And does it look true, accurate, complete in the way that you submitted it?
Yes.
Your Honor, do State's Exhibit number 5 have evidence?
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
6-5 is admitted without objection. You may post it to the jury if you wish.
Thank you, Your Honor. In State's Exhibit number 5, tell the jurors, please, what kind of information does State's Exhibit number 5 tell you?
Basically, it's a transactional log of travel and living expenses, so it will show, in some cases, airfare, business meals, lodging, parking, any of the general categories that are being used for IRS purposes for expenses.
Okay.
So,
Are these expenses that Mr. Newman, in this case, would have incurred during the course of his business that he then asked GE to reimburse him for?
yes.
Okay. What about expenses that he would use his GE credit card for? Would that show up on there?
That is what these receipts.
Those would, what if Mr. Newman or another GE employee used cash for the expense that he later wanted reimbursement from General Electric for? Would that show up on there?
It may. It depends.
It would depend?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about State's Exhibit number 6? Can you tell me if you recognize State's Exhibit number 6?
Again, it's a comprehensive travel living expense report. I believe it's from Ms. Sneiderman.
For Ms. Sneiderman, defendant? And is that, State's Exhibit number 6, does that document all of the reimbursable expenses that Ms. Sneiderman submitted to GE for reimbursement during the time of her employment?
Okay.
And was that a document that you compiled or that you oversaw the compilation of?
It was one I requested from our corporate office.
Does it appear to be true, accurate, and complete to the best of your knowledge?
It does.
Your Honor, I move to admit State's Exhibit number 6.
Any objection?
No, sir.
That's 6, submitted without objection. You may publish it to the jury if you wish.
Thank you. Let's start with State's Exhibit number 6. The summary of reimbursable expenses for Ms. Newman. Can you tell me, and looking at that document and other documents that you have reviewed, what was the first trip that Ms. Sneiderman took after her employment began with General Electric?
It's like a trip to the Melbourne site, which I believe is the Melbourne, Florida location.
Melbourne, Florida, is that a place where GE does business?
Yes, there's an office there.
What was the date of that travel, do you recall?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Your Honor, may I push the witness?
You may.
And will the record reflect that I have shown what has been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 4 to Mr. Petrie, and I'm now handing it to the witness. State's Exhibit number 4, Ms. Bach, do you recognize what that is?
It's a calendar of travel.
And how do you recognize that?
It was given to me by you.
Have you reviewed it prior to your testimony today?
I have.
All right, and does that calendar accurately reflect the travel that was taken by Mr. Newman and Ms. Snyderman to the relevant dates that we've talked about?
Yes.
All right. Would use of State's Exhibit number 4, would that assist you in communicating to the jury the dates and times of travel and other more detail-oriented things?
Yes.
You want to say moves to admit State's Exhibit number 4 for demonstrative purposes?
Any objection?
Your Honor, the only objection, I don't believe the witness has identified where the calendar came from.
I'll sustain the objection at this point in time. You want to get a little better foundation?
I will, Your Honor. Ms. Bob, have you reviewed that calendar?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and how many pages is that calendar?
Here's the 7.
Okay. Your Honor, if it's just for demonstrative purposes, I understand now the genesis of the calendar, and for demonstrative purposes, we have no objection to it.
All right, if you have no objection, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is State's Exhibit number 4 admitted?
It is.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Without objection.
Thank you. I should have made, please. Ms. Bock, you were talking to me about Ms. Snyderman's travel for General Electric, and I wanted to refer you to the Melbourne trip that you spoke of. Do you recall the dates of the Melbourne trip that Ms. Snyderman took in May of 2010?
It appears to be the 16th and 17th.
And is that consistent with the travel documents that you were in the custody of and that you turned over to the state?
I believe it is.
Let me refer you to State's Exhibit number 5. That's the travel summary for Hemi Newman. There's a travel summary for Hemi Newman as contained in State's Exhibit number 5. Does that reflect where Mr. Newman was in May 16th and 17th, 2010?
Unfortunately, these documents don't have dates on them,
All right.
so
Then let me show you something else. Your Honor, may I push the witness?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Goff, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibits number 7 through 12.
okay.
Can you take a look at State's Exhibits number 7 through 12 and tell me if you recognize what they are?
I do. These are detailed summaries of expense reports that looks like Mr. Newman submitted in the course of his travels.
And are those State's Exhibits number 7 through 12, are those what's ordinarily kept from GE for individual, particular trips that individuals would take?
Yeah, this is the summary that would be printed out by a traveler once they've submitted their expenses. I generally will print one of these out, just put them in a folder in case there's any question as my travels. This is what I print out.
Do you recognize State's Exhibits number 7 through 12 as documents that you provided to the state in response to this request?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and are they complete and accurate, to the best of your knowledge, as to the travel that Mr. Hemi Newman took to those related trips that we're going to discuss?
They appear to be.
Okay. Your Honor, Move to admit state's exhibits number 7 through 12.
No.
Any objection? All right, there are no objection, you may call it 7 through 12 to the jury if you wish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just stay right here for a moment, please. And I'm going to ask you about state's exhibit number 7 in particular, Ms. Goff. State's exhibit number 7, does that indicate to you anything about a travel or a trip that Mr. Hemi Newman took in May of 2010?
Yes, it does.
Okay, does that, where was that travel and what was the date?
It was travel to Melbourne, Florida. It appears to be, says the period covered was May the 16th through the 18th.
I'm now going to refer your attention to state's exhibit number 8. What does state's exhibit number 8 reflect?
This is a trip to Norfolk, Virginia. It appears to be June the 30th through July 7th.
Okay. The second page of state's exhibit number 4. The second page. Thank you. State's exhibit number 9. What does state's exhibit number 9 look like?
This is the T&L expenses for a trip to, it says destination San Francisco, California.
Is there another site located on the state's exhibit number 9?
Yes, there is, Newton, Nevada.
All right. Does state's exhibit number 9 indicate what dates it was that Mr. Newman took the trip to San Jose or San Francisco? Where was it?
San Francisco.
San Francisco?
Right. The dates, the period covered was July the 12th through August the 2nd.
July 12th through August the 2nd?
Correct.
Is there also a trip to Minden, Nevada as referenced in those documents?
Yes.
No, that was during the same time period?
Correct. When you fill out the expense, you have to put in what the purpose of your trip was. And the purpose of the trip, it says Cisco and Minden. So
What, if anything, does that indicate to you about the destination of that travel?
this was a combined trip going to multiple locations. It says San Jose, so I would suspect that Cisco was probably, as in Cisco Systems.
Is that a GE reference?
It's a networking company. I'm not sure quite what the connection is there, but that would make sense for them to do it on San Jose.
The state's exhibit number 9 does indicate that Mr. Newman took a trip to California and then Minden, Nevada from July 12th to the 16th of 2010.
That's what it appears.
Is there any other travel identified for Mr. Newman in July of 2010 beyond the trip July 12th through July 16th?
Not on this expense report.
I'm going to ask you then about state's exhibit number 10. What's state's exhibit number 10?
A summary of travel to Greenville, South Carolina.
And what were the dates of travel to Greenville, South Carolina as reflected in state's exhibit number 10?
August 26th through August the 27th.
And Mr. Newman saw reimbursement for first travel to Greenville that day?
He did.
State's exhibit number 11. Can you tell me what that is?
This is a trip to the UK.
And who took that trip?
This is for Mr. Newman.
And these are expenses that Mr. Newman requested that GE
Excuse me, when you
reimburse.
say UK, what does that say?
England,
United States.
Maryland, yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Do you itemized expenses on that document reflect travel to both England and to Scotland?
It doesn't say specifically, and I don't see anything in there that, it only says UK.
It only says UK. Thank you. And finally, state's exhibit number 12. State's exhibit number 12 reflects what?
A trip to South Carolina for Mr. Newman.
What were the dates of the travel to South Carolina Mr. Newman sought reimbursement for as reflected in state's exhibit number 12?
October 21st through October 24th.
Ms. Scott, I want to refer you again to state's exhibit number 5, and if you would please take a look at it and make sure that there wasn't any trip to Longmont, Colorado for Hemi Newman the week of July 19th, 2010.
see one referenced.
Does that mean that Mr. Newman did not seek any reimbursement for travel he took to Longmont, Colorado in July 2000 and the week of July 19th, 2010?
That's what it appears.
All right, then let's go back to Kansas State's Exhibit number 6. That's the summary of travel for the defendant. I believe we started talking about a trip to Melbourne. Did Ms. Sneiderman request reimbursement for a trip she took to Melbourne, Florida?
Yes, she did.
Was that in May 16th and 17th, 2010?
But again, this particular summary doesn't have dates, so referring to this calendar, that would be correct.
What, from State's Exhibit number 6, can you tell me the other locations that Ms. Sneiderman sought reimbursement for her travel to while she was employed at GE?
We have the Norfolk, Virginia trip. We have Minden, Nevada. We have Longmont, which is outside of Denver. We have Greenville, North Carolina. We have a trip to the United Kingdom. We have 2 additional trips to Greenville.
Thank you. I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say Greenville, North Carolina, or Greenville, South Carolina?
South Carolina.
How many trips to Greenville, South Carolina were there?
Here's the 3.
Were there 3 trips or just 3 reimbursable expenses?
I see 3 reimbursable expenses on that.
Can you tell me what reimbursable expenses Ms. Sneiderman asked for in Casey State's Exhibit number 6? In Minden, Nevada.
We have airfare. We have a business meal at the Riva Grill, gasoline, lodging, both at the Hampton Inn and at the Holiday Inn. Miscellaneous for an aerosol, I'm not sure what that is. Parking, personal meals at various restaurants, and a rental car.
Is anything about the reimbursements for the trip to Minden, Nevada that is outside the ordinary course of business that it appears to you?
No?
What about the trip to Longmont? Can you look at the trip to Longmont?
Sure. We have airfare, we have gas, we have lodging, your miscellaneous transportation, I suspect that's probably toll fees or something. Personal meals,
Let me
and
stop you on the personal meals. Is there any restaurant in particular that's identified by name?
there's several. Cooking with Jazz, Denver Chop House, Fawn Garden Restaurant, Food Stand, Mike O'Shea's, Noodles and Company, Prairie Center, Sojourners, and Wahoo's Fish Tacos.
Okay, thank you. Now, at this time, the state would seek to play a clip of the previously introduced State's Exhibit number 1, testimony of Ms. Sneiderman.
Is that the same as 1 of 1, how you identified before?
I identify this clip as clip 1-2.
1-2?
Yes.
All right, it's been a minute, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Prior to November 18, 2010, did the defendant ever express his feelings for you?
Yes,
And first, when did that happen?
we were in Minden, Nevada at a site that I had responsibility for. And that night we went to dinner, and before dinner we were outside the restaurant, and he pulled out his phone and read a poem, and the insinuation of the poem to me was that he had deeper feelings for me than just friends. And we immediately sat down. I remember the first question out of my mouth is, "Are you happy in your marriage?" And
Okay, what you said deep feelings, tell the jury what that was. What did he express to you?
I don't remember what the poem said. The poem insinuated that he thought I was beautiful, which to me meant that he had more romantic feelings for me than just being friends.
Is that the only time prior to November 18, 2010 that he expressed that to you?
It's the only time that he expressed it in that way. There were other times where, in passing or in a fleeting moment or in what seemed like a very silly email, he would seem to be expressing feelings for me. And none of those feelings were ever returned, and I made myself completely clear where I stood.
At this time, I'd like to play a second clip identified as clip 1-4.
1-4,
Yes, sir.
you may play it, it's on this.
Thank you.
The next trip you took with Mr. Newman would have been in July, about July 13th, 14th of 2010, correct?
Correct?
Does that sound correct?
Yeah, it wasn't to Lake Tahoe, it was to Minden, Nevada.
The site visit was in Minden, Nevada.
That's correct.
How far is that from Lake Tahoe?
20 miles.
Okay.
10 miles. 20 minutes.
Didn't you at some point go to Lake Tahoe?
Yes.
Okay. And was it in Lake Tahoe where Mr. Newman read you a poem?
Yes.
Okay. Now, up to that point, so April, May, June, he had not expressed any interest in you.
He had not openly expressed interest in me, that's correct.
Well, openly. Had he intimated to you that he was interested in you?
No, nothing verbally. Just-
You're limiting it. I'm not limiting it at all. Not openly, not verbally. Did he express did he intimate to you in any way an interest in you?
I felt he was being overly friendly.
Okay. And in what way?
Pat on the shoulder, pat on the leg, what normal people would do as friends, but it just seemed odd.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Goff, we've talked about a trip to Minden in July of 2010. I'm going to skip over some things to direct your attention to October of 2010. State's Exhibit number 6 that has previously been admitted. Remind the jury what State's Exhibit State's Exhibit number 12. Is that please? Can you remind the jury what State's Exhibit number 12 is and what that recites?
It's a summary of expenses for Mr. Newman for a trip to Greenville, South Carolina.
Can I see that on the screen, please? And what were the dates of Mr. Newman's travel for this trip to Greenville, South Carolina?
This was a period covered October 21st through October the 24th.
What were the expenses that Mr. Newman sought reimbursement for the October 21st, 22nd trip to Greenville, South Carolina?
It appears to be lodging at the Hampton Inn, dinner at an establishment called Pulse.
What was the name of the restaurant? I'm sorry?
Pulse, LSE.
Does it indicate who, if anyone, Mr. Newman had dinner with at Pulse?
It says here, Andrea Sneiderman, meal during trip.
When two GE employees have a meal together, is it typical or common for the person who expensed it or actually paid for the the meal and sought reimbursement, to identify the other person with whom they ate?
Yes, if you choose multiple attendees, you have to list who those attendees were who are our sponsors.
Thank you. And then I'd like to play one final clip of the slides. Identified as 2-6.
Is it 2-6?
Yes, Your Honor.
2-6?
Yes, sir.
You may?
In your years in the business world,
Yes.
how often did your bosses send you emails like depicted in 4869 with
I'm sorry,
attached
Your Honor,
file?
I gotta stop.
Never.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Your Honor, I misidentified the clip. I'd like to play 6-1, please.
6-1.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
On October 21st of 2010, did you take another Greenville trip with the defendant?
Yeah.
Who made reservations on that trip, do you remember?
Henny.
Okay. Do you know if you had adjoining rooms on that trip?
I think we did.
What time did you go to Greenville, do you know?
I presume it was a similar time to avoid traffic as the last trip, maybe midday, mid-morning, midday to the next day.
Wouldn't that have been a much later trip that you left later in the afternoon?
Well, we left at lunchtime in the first trip, so I don't know. It's possible that I had meetings during the day or that I had something else going on. I don't remember the exact time that we left for that trip. I do remember making a stop on that trip. He needed, we stopped at the outlet place that's on 85. I don't know what highway that is. He needed some clothes. And so I was willing to stop, and we walked in, and I actually remember having a discussion with the...
Do you remember what time you stopped? You checked into the hotel that time?
I don't know. Afternoon, late afternoon, dinner time? I mean, before dinner.
Okay.
Must have been before dinner.
Is that when you went out drinking in South Carolina? Was that the trip that you and he went out drinking?
Went out drinking.
Did you go to do you remember the Pulse restaurant?
Say again?
The Pulse restaurant?
It is a dance club, not a restaurant.
Okay. Do you remember going?
We went to dinner at a restaurant, an actual restaurant, and then, afterwards, we were walking along, and he said, let's check out this place. I found this place online. It was a place just to have drinks. That was my impression at the time.
Okay. Did you go there?
Yep.
And what did you do there?
We had some drinks at the bar, maybe 1, 2.
Did you dance?
I got onto the dance floor myself, as I explained. I've been a trained dancer for some time, going to be able to dance freely as like a release. I'm very much in my own space when I do that, and so I got up and I was dancing alone on the dance floor.
Did you dance with the defendant?
He came to join the dance floor, did not join me necessarily on the dance floor initially, and he was also dancing, and then there was a time where he reached out his hand and, as the defense has said, twirled me around, and that's it.
Was there other contact?
There was not.
None?
Besides dancing, like partner dancing?
Yeah.
No,
Did you kiss him or did he kiss you?
no. No. But I guess you have people that have said that that did occur.
Do you have any idea why someone would believe you were kissing?
No, I don't.
Okay.
In this case, when you're talking about alleged affairs and someone else's husband being murdered, I think people tend to think they saw a lot of things.
Well, and let me ask you that. This is a gentleman who, up to this point in time, has asked you to marry him at least twice that we're aware of, right? Correct?
Correct.
And has expressed his love for you in just emails numerous times, correct?
Correct.
And you're going to a dance club drinking with him, correct?
I didn't go to the dance club as a drinking activity, and nor did I know at the time it was a dance club until we got in there. But yes, I was there.
And you stayed.
Yeah, I stayed.
Did you have adjoining rooms at that trip in Greenville?
Yes.
Did you and he spend time in each other's room or in one of the rooms?
When we got to the hotel, I remember sitting briefly on the balcony of my room, but then that was that. There was no other additional time, if that's what you're asking.
So he never spent time in your room?
Besides what I just explained, no.
Ms. Goff, how long have you worked for GE?
15 years.
15 years. Do you travel frequently for work?
I do.
Do you at times travel with colleagues or coworkers?
I do.
Is it common practice to have adjoining rooms with your colleague or coworker? In the 15 years that you've been employed at GE, have you ever had adjoining rooms on a business travel with coworkers?
I have not.
Subject 3 5, nothing further. This witness at this time.
Mr. Petrie, you may cross examine if you wish.
Ms. Goff, again, I'm John Petrie. We met briefly earlier today. I've got a few questions for you, ma'am. Number one, there's no prohibition against co-workers having adjoining rooms, correct?
Not that I'm aware.
You just personally have not yourself.
I personally have not.
And there is a difference, in your travels, there is a difference between adjoining rooms and connecting rooms, correct?
Yes,
An adjoining room is a room that happens to be next to another room.
correct,
A connecting room has an interior door that you don't have to go out into the hall.
correct.
They're different phrases, and when you order one or ask one in a hotel or a motel, you're getting different things.
That is probably true. I've never asked for either one, so
Okay.
I don't know.
But you are aware of different phrases.
Correct, yes.
Now, you indicated yourself that these records that have been produced, if I understand correctly, you are sort of a liaison or an ombudsman. You don't produce these records yourself. You work with the entity or your legal team that's seeking to get the information. Then you use your technical expertise to make sure that the records are in fact found and produced by the appropriate personnel within GE. Is that correct?
Partially correct. I do work with the legal team. They tell me what they need. I have the ability to harvest the emails and other items from servers or local desktops or laptops. But when it comes to corporate systems such as travel and living expenses, I do have to go to a corporate team and request a report from them versus being able to harvest it myself.
Okay. And in this case, when you say harvest, does that mean you like go into a computer and you generate them yourselves, or you get on the phone or send an email? What does harvesting mean?
In this particular case, back in 2010, I made a request to have rights granted to me for the emails, for the email account, and then I went into that email account and I did a forensic harvest, which is called an exploration of that data.
And so you yourself were the catalyst for producing what ultimately got produced to paper here.
Correct.
You didn't yourself hang out in the Xerox machine for a couple of days and produce it.
I did not.
Now, you indicated, I believe, that prior to your involvement, after the request was made to you to harvest the information to get the travel expenses, you had no idea who on the face of God's green earth Henry Newman or Andrea Sneiderman were.
None.
You have no personal involvement in this case whatsoever.
None.
You have no personal knowledge whatsoever of the accuracy or inaccuracy of any of the records. You know that you harvested these records and they are normally kept in the business of GE, and that's about as far as it can go for you, correct?
Correct.
I mean, somebody can lie on an expense and say, I spent X amount of dollars for a bill with so-and-so, and they really spent it at the racetrack.
Absolutely.
But there's an assumption that they're being honest, they put the information on the request, it gets paid.
That's within GE, integrity is huge. So we assume that what you're putting in there is fair enough.
And I'm not trying to imply that there is dishonesty. I guess maybe I was a little too sarcastic. I'm just trying to stress that insofar as the actual history of this case, other than the records that you have produced by request, you have no knowledge of what happened or how accurate the historical records that you have produced are.
Correct.
One moment, please, John.
You may. Taylor, we're back on the record. You may continue.
Thank you very much, Tom. When the request came to you to produce these records, did that come directly to you from someone in law enforcement, or did it come to you via someone else at GE?
It came to me from our legal liaison. At that time, we were having law enforcement go through an attorney within our group, and she was handling all of the discovery requests, if you will.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, did you, at the request of your legal team or the law enforcement personnel involved, did you produce all of the travel records and receipts during the relevant time period for both Mrs. Sneiderman and for Mr. Newton?
I did.
That's all I have.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, just subject to be called for this witness to the excuse of the state.
Any objection?
Absolutely not.
You may come down. Have a good day. Drive. You're still on the subpoena. You can catch a flight out and maybe fly back in. But I say, call you next week.
State calls Christina Olivera.
You don't mind following the instruction of my deputy, please? Deputy Vulcan.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give to the court today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So you know your name, your word, man, please state and spell your name for the record.
Christine Olivera, Christine, and Olivera, Olivera.
Christine, how are you currently employed right now?
I'm currently working as bureau specialist for DMW.
And
Yeah, did you ask the witness?
I can.
I'm sorry.
Just speak directly to that microphone, and if you could, project your voice loud enough so my Deputy Carmichael can hear what you're saying. Just speak a little loud. I know it's not going to be natural per se, but just speak a little louder so I won't have to have any repeat. Okay? Thank you, Christina. She's with you.
and you're employed how? Can you repeat that?
I work currently as a payroll specialist at DMW Bangkok
Okay, what town is that in?
in Greenville.
In
South
Greenville.
Carolina.
Back in, is that in South Carolina?
It is, sir.
Back in 2010, specifically in October of 2010, were you living in Greenville?
I was.
Were you working in Greenville?
I was.
What was the name of the company or the establishment you were working for?
I was working for Pulse Lounge.
And you could just kind of briefly tell us what Pulse Lounge is.
Pulse Lounge was a bar and lounge nightclub environment in downtown Greenville, and I bartended for them.
You were a bartender?
Yes.
Okay, was it a large establishment?
It was a normal size establishment. It wasn't too big, just a regular bar.
If you had to compare it to the size of this
Just very big in comparison to probably the size of this area.
the size, when you say this area, you're talking about from perhaps here forward or even smaller?
That area, from there to here.
This area from the rail forward. Where was you were a bartender, so where was the bar in the establishment?
The bar was located, the entrance was right here, and the bar was to my right.
To your right. So if I'm where you are, the bar would have been over here.
Yes,
Was it a large bar or was
it
it?
was a large bar. It was about the size of the church.
Okay. Where was the dance floor? If you were a bartender, let me start over. If you were a bartender, you would have been behind the bar, correct? Okay. Where was the dance floor in relation to the bar? The bar is over here.
I would work over here, and the dance floor was right here in the center of the.
Now, when you were bartending, approximately how close would you be from the dance floor?
Very close.
Very
About
close.
this proximity, yes.
About from perhaps here to where the jury is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to ask you specifically about the night of October 21st.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember that night?
I do.
Okay. Was it a slow night? Was it a fast night? A lot of people there. What was going on?
It was a really slow night. I don't remember the reason. I know it was sometime during the week. But I remember the bar being empty. It was just myself and the DJ at the present time.
Specifically around 9 o'clock, was it still just yourself and the DJ?
Myself, the DJ, and the defendant with her party sister and streaming.
So when you say the defendant, can you identify that person? What she had on?
She's sitting there in front of me.
Okay. Your Honor, the record may reflect the witness that identified the defendant.
Record may so reflect, she's identified the defendant with brown hair.
Can you stand up and tell us what she has on before the record?
White with black striped sweater.
All right. On that evening, when the defendant came in with, you say, her upper party, was there anyone else in the bar at that time?
No, sir.
So it was completely empty.
Completely empty.
Can you describe the other party that she came in with?
He had salt and pepper, gray hair, a yellow polo shirt, and was accompanying her glasses.
A man or a woman?
It was a male.
Okay. Where did they sit when they came in?
If this was the bar, they would sit right towards the end of the bar, towards the window.
Okay. Can you tell the jurors specifically, without telling them what anybody said, specifically what the defendant was doing when she came and sat down at the bar?
The defendant laid down her purse on one of the chairs. There were chairs lined up all across the bar. And the party, Mr. Newman, came and ordered drinks, and she asked where the restroom was.
Did you tell her where the restroom
I
was?
did. I pointed her towards the back of the bar where the restroom was.
And did she go to the restroom?
She did.
All right. When she came out, can you tell the jurors what she did?
When I had guided her to the restroom, she looked pretty upset about something. And as she excused herself, she took her cell phone to the restroom, and Mr. Newman was left at the bar with me. He asked.
I want to get into what Mr. Newman said. But she, being the defendant, went to the restroom.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever see her on her cell phone that evening?
She took her cell phone. I didn't see her on the cell phone, no.
But she took it with her.
She took it with her.
Okay, so let's talk about when she came back out of the restroom. Did she return to the bar when she came back out of the restroom?
She did.
Okay, tell me what happened then.
The drinks were on the bar. They both took a sip out of their drink, and the music was playing.
What type of music was it?
Salsa music?
Okay. The music is playing, they're taking a sip of the drink at the bar.
Yes.
Okay, it's her, then when she went to the restroom, she seemed a little upset. Has her demeanor changed at any point?
She did, after she took a sip of the drink, she kind of brushed off whatever was bothering her and looked like she was going to have a good time and wasn't going to let whatever bothering her bother her. So yes, her demeanor did change.
So they're back at the bar, they're taking a sip of the drink. What happens next?
Her party takes her out to the dance floor and they start dancing.
Let me stop. You say her party takes her out to the dance floor. What do you mean by take out to the dance
He
floor?
led her by her hand to the dance floor.
So he physically went and grabbed the defendant's hand and led her out to the dance floor. Okay. What happened once they got onto the dance floor?
They both started dancing. And at one point, he stated that she was a trained dancer.
Okay, all right.
And she agreed.
Okay,
She confirmed that she was a trained dancer.
okay. How were they dancing?
They were dancing at one point, not together, and then they had separated, and it appeared to be as though she was dancing with him in a flirtatious way, trying to entice him.
Explain what you mean by dancing with him in a flirtatious way.
He had just stated that she was a trained dancer, and I guess she was trying to prove that she was, and was dancing for him, kind of in a seductive way.
Like,
Like
you don't have to do it. I'll do it. Was she
She was
moving
moving her hips, and
side to side?
he was, yes.
Okay.
She was.
Like, and sort of Latin dancing.
Sort of flat, yes, Latin
Okay.
dancing.
And
And
what
then
is?
they were coming closer together.
Okay, let me stop you. When she's moving her hips side to side, sort of Latin dancing, what is he doing? The individual that's with her.
He's looking at me saying, "This is great."
Okay.
And she's getting closer to him.
Okay.
At that point, he had grabbed her rear, her butt,
Her
butt.
buttocks.
he had cupped her butt.
With
And
one hand or two hands?
2 hands.
Okay.
And,
How close are they? If this is her and this is him, were they this far apart?
They were really close.
Like this?
Yes. And then-
Okay, and he's got his hands around her buttocks.
Yes, and Ms. Sneiderman would be the podium.
Miss Nine gets Okay. Okay, so go ahead.
They appeared to be grinding at that moment and
By
pressing
grinding, what do you mean?
body against body.
And their body against
moving-
body and they're moving together?
Moving together.
Okay, go ahead.
At that moment, she had kissed him.
She kissed him.
She kissed him. Prior to that, he had kissed her.
Let me stop you again. She kissed him. Well, I mean, did she kiss him on the hand, on the cheek?
No, she kissed him on the mouth.
And you've seen people kiss before, correct? Is this sort of a peck, like a father pecks a child, or what are we talking about?
No, this was a kiss, like a loving kiss, like a
Passionate?
passionate kiss. Yes.
Was it like a split second or a couple seconds or
Couple
what?
seconds.
Couple second kiss? Okay, you said prior to that, he had kissed her. Tell us about that.
He, when he took her out to the dance floor and she appeared to brush off whatever was bothering her, he had kissed her on the mouth again. A couple seconds, nothing.
Passionate kiss?
Passionate kiss.
Okay, go ahead.
After they danced and were grinding on the floor, they come back to the bar and finished having their drink. They asked if this establishment was open and what days. I'd mentioned the Halloween party that we were going to be having towards the end of the week. It's getting closer to Halloween time. They really enjoyed the bar and the music, and he had stated that this was exactly what she needed, the type of environment that she needed. After that, they had their drinks and proceeded to leave, and once they left,
Let me stop you there. So they had their drinks and they proceeded to leave. Tell me about the windows at Pulse. Can you?
if this were the bar, right here would be the window, and it was a window, I would say, from the baseboard to half of the wall. So it was a large window, and it was on the outside of the street. There were twinkle lights in the trees, so it was well lit.
So you could see out the
I
window?
could see out the window.
Okay. Did you see them walk out of Pulse?
I did, and prior to them leaving, I asked if they were okay, because they had a couple of drinks, and wanted to make sure that they would make it safely. They indicated that they were staying in downtown Greenville in one of the hotels, and that they would be walking back.
They said they were staying in downtown Greenville or
Yes.
hotels?
Yes,
And they would be walking back?
yes,
Okay, did you see them walk out of the bar?
I did.
Okay, tell me what happens as they're walking out.
As I'm wiping down the bar, I'm looking out the window, and they're leaving embraced. She had his hand around his waist, and he had his arm around her shoulder.
Okay, let me
And
stop you again. I'm gonna use the podium again, okay? So they're by embrace, they're walking like,
yes,
and he had his hand where?
on her shoulder,
On her shoulder, and where's her hand?
around his waist.
Around like this. She's
Yes.
walking like
And
this,
it was, he was standing on the outside of her,
like this.
the other way around, yes.
Okay.
And they both looked at each other and kissed.
They turned to one another and kissed
Yes,
again.
yes.
Was-
and
Was that
continued
also a
walking.
passionate kiss?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I didn't see them after that.
Your Honor, the record may reflect I am showing opposing counsel, who am I showing to? State exhibit number 13.
So what number is this, Mr. Smith?
State exhibit number 13.
Number 1313, oh, that's 13.
Yeah, approach you.
You're right.
Showing you state exhibit number 13. You could take a look at that and without telling me what's on it, tell me if you recognize it.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is that document kept in the regular and ordinary course of business by the Pulse Restaurant?
It is.
Was it generated by a computer?
It was.
Okay, does just any old one have access to that computer? Who had access to that
The
computer?
employees.
All right. Would the information that's contained in that document have been made contemporaneous or at the same time that the transaction was taking place?
Yes, sir. Everything's stated.
Your Honor, at this time, I will tender State's exhibit number 13 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, sir, unless she can demonstrate that she is in somehow a custodian of the records, I don't see how she can possibly authenticate this particular document. I don't believe she's currently working for that restaurant.
Response, Mr. James.
Your Honor, I don't even know if the restaurant still exists. She has knowledge and she is working for the restaurant at the time, I don't think it's required by law that she currently still be working for it. She actually produced that document.
I'm going to sustain your objection to this extent. I will allow you to ask a couple more questions for the foundational purposes.
Do you recognize the document now?
I do.
Okay. Were you familiar with the procedures that
I
Polk's
did.
Restaurant kept documented at that time?
Being not only the bartender, I did the closing at night, and these were the receipts to balance our registers and
Okay.
sales.
And did you actually produce that receipt yourself? Meaning, are you the person that logged in that transaction?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that's a receipt that you would have entered the information on?
That is correct.
And you are familiar, and you were familiar with the way that Polk kept records at that time?
Yes, it was.
Anything
We
else?
checked our,
Anything else, Mr. Clegg?
No, I had no question, Your Honor. I stand by my objection. She is.
I'll already object at this point in time based on that follow-up question. Is there any record? Was it correct? You may vote. Excuse me.
Look at the bottom of the receipt, and by server, what does it say?
Christie?
Is that the way, was that the way that you put your name there?
Yes,
Okay, and did you in fact type Christian into the computer?
yes. Actually, we had a 4-digit PIN that would indicate which server was attending, and that's how I was logged in. That was my
And,
server.
and next to date, what date does it say there?
October 21st, 2010,
And what's the time?
9:36.
And the person who was paid for, is that person's name listed on there? And what's the initial?
Newman H.
Lumen H. And next to table, what does that say?
Dinner couple.
Okay, and why would you put that there?
That was just in the generic code that we use for guests.
When people were together?
Yes.
Thank you, nothing further this time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now moving off about an hour before we go to cross-examination, I'm going to allow you to have a brief stretch break, and this will be your first stretch break in the afternoon. It will be in the neighborhood of 10 minutes. Deputy Boston, would you assist? Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome back to 11 Alive's coverage of the Andrea Sneiderman trial. I'm Jeff Hullinger along with attorney Paige Pate, and we have been hearing from a woman who was a bartender at a Greenville, South Carolina, a bar which is along that main strip in downtown Greenville, close to their hotel, and she has been talking about the night that Hemi Newman and Andrea Sneiderman both came in, were drinking, were salsa dancing, and were at least in her view, were very, very close, were a couple.
Right. It's amazing that she has such recall of an incident that occurred approximately 3 years ago that at the time was relatively unremarkable.
Is that challengeable? I mean, if you are the defense, I mean, there's a lot of people that frequent those restaurants and bars in that very happening area of downtown Greenville.
And dance and kiss.
Yeah, I mean, to have that sort of crystal clear recollect on one couple so long ago, it certainly would seem to be challengeable. I mean, in the sense that she remembers every detail.
Absolutely. And the defense lawyer right now who's going to cross-examine her has to assume that the jury's thinking the same thing that we are. How does she remember this incident from so long